better in this field and that they are better at science than women, and because of this, they have a lack of confidence and a lack of assurance in this field. And so I think by giving them confidence, giving them assurance, I think that will increase the numbers in ham radio of women. Okay, so as you can see, there has been an increase of women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math degrees and occupations, but as you can see, it's kind of leveling off. So there has been a push in the recent years, but I think we need to be doing more. I think that ham radio is a wonderful hobby because it's a gateway to STEM careers and STEM fields. Because of my interest in ham radio, I am very interested in pursuing science as a college degree and in my career. So I think that by giving more women a way to involve themselves in ham radio will affect these stats that women will be more involved in science in a later career. Okay, so another reason is through this book, The Only Woman in the Room by Eileen Pollock. And I think this book is about how she pursued a career in physics. She went to Yale and was summa cum laude in physics, but she graduated at the top of her class, but she didn't pursue physics in her career because of her lack of confidence and the lack of assurance. She always felt that she was an outcast because she was one of the only women in the room and one of the only women in her science classes. And I think that this strongly suggests that we need to be doing something. We need to be giving them assurance. We need to be giving them certificates and things that will help them know that there's support out there. So, one of the reasons that I'm involved in ham radio is through my school club, and I think, as you can see there, I'm one of the only women there. We need to be doing something. And so I think that by having a ham radio club or starting a ham radio club or involving ham radio club or ham radio in your classes will help more women be more involved in ham radio. And so I think that you can encourage girls joining these clubs by giving them incentives, by saying, oh, you're gonna get some extra credit if you do this. I would be very interested in extra credit, so I would be doing that. I would encourage girls to give them incentives and give them certificates if they join, and that's a great way to involve more women in ham radio. Another thing that you can do through school clubs is bring in role models and bring in different women that are older and show them that these are women who pursued science as a career, pursued science in whatever they're doing, and this is what you can be doing. This is what you can look up to. There is support, there are people out there that are doing this, and you can give them more support by showing them that there are more women like them. And another thing through school clubs is sharing that you can make long life friendships in ham radio. Not just within the peers, just within the people in your club, but also through the radio. I've made a lot of friends talking to a lot of people around the world, and I think that connection with the girls on the radio or just with girls and different genders, I think that's just a huge connection, and that made me more involved because I know that I have friendships on the radio. Okay, so another thing that you can be doing through ham radio is by having different interactive exhibits in museums or just having interactive exhibits in places that a lot of girls go, like the malls or parks or different things like that that show them that there are hands-on activities. And so I think my involvement in ham radio, my love for ham radio is through the hands-on activities. This is my first time making an HF contact whenever I was 11, and it was through this Kids Day at my local science museum. And by having this interactive exhibit, it showed me that this is what I can be doing. This is what, because of my contact, I have a lot of support. And so, as you can see there's another picture for that day. And here, so another reason I think by having these different events will help more women get more involved is by having certificates, by having incentives, by showing them this is what you can be doing. If you make a contact, you're doing wonderful things in the world. By talking on the radio, you can have more women, in ham radio. So I think another reason that this is a great thing that you should be doing, giving certificates and contests and different things like that, is yesterday at the Contest University, our club was gratefully invited. Valerie N.V. 9L, Valerie Hotzfeld, and she talked about how she was hooked into ham radio with her first contest. She was hooked into ham radio because she won her first contest. Although she was the only woman in the category, she still won, and that's I mean, I would be thankful to win some national award. I think that's pretty cool. So showing them that because there are not enough women, you can be winning all these national awards in these wild categories. And so, I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. Okay. So another thing you can be doing is having different wild events. Like I talked about, you can have like different hands-on activities in museums or malls or different things, parks and things. You can have more women be involved, even if they have no idea what it is. They can just come up to your booth and say, "What is this? This is pretty cool." I mean, you can make a contact in just within a couple seconds. Especially if you have a wild voice, you'll make a lot of contacts. You can have national parks on the air, like a special wild station, or go to your local history museum or women's history museum. You can go to these different places and show them that history is greatly involved with ham radio as well, but also show them that ham radio can be applied in many different ways. Okay, so another thing you can do is encourage girls as parents or as siblings. You can encourage your siblings or other kids' parents to be more involved in ham radio. And another thing, Deborah Johnson, I thank her for showing me this, is that they have this new badge. It's the Radio and Wireless Technology patch for Girl Scouts. And so I think you should encourage girls to be involved with Girl Scouts. And so here's a poster about it right here, and you can go talk to her at the ARRL booth, the educator booth, and you can talk to her more about this patch. But this patch is wonderful because, a lot of girls are in Girl Scouts, and they have the Boy Scouts merit for field day, and by having Girl Scouts more involved with ham radio, I think that's such a wonderful thing because, they can have connection with ham radio and with their community as well. Okay, so this is at the Huntsville Ham Fest, and I went to a youth presentation, and I learned how to solder. That was my first time learning how to solder. And I think that really intrigued me because this is, hands-on activities, this is hands-on technology. I was able to solder. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm very nerdy, so that's probably a reason. But I really like soldering and learning how to work technology and electronics. And so because ham radio is involved with several different fields of science, I think by having these different presentations, maybe in your class or by having them in your local museums and different things like that, that can show them that ham radio isn't just talking on the radio. There's so much more involved with electronics and things like that. Okay, also ham radio is involved with art. So the QSLs, what I love receiving are QSLs that are very, have a lot of colors, and this is where I talk to. So QSL cards are involved with history and travel and culture. So by having these different QSL cards, this is where I talk to. This picture, this is where I've talked to. This is half across the world, but I have this piece in my hand that this is what I did. By having this assurance, this is making me more supportive by having, this is what I did, it's in my hands. So this book is called Hello World, A Life in Ham Radio, and it shows that QSL cards are greatly involved with art and culture and history. And so here's some QSL cards, and yeah. Okay, so we don't have enough women in ham radio and in science careers. And what we can do is offer more women different things that will make them, more aware that this is for them, this is, give them more support and assurance by having certificates, incentives, different things like that. I think I want to, another thing with my ham radio club is that I feel like I have a second home here. Mr. Rapp has made me more involved with ham radio and my family, and this is my second home. I mean, I feel like I can just, whenever I'm having a bad day, I can just go on the radio and just talk to people across the world, and I think that's just a wonderful feeling, just to be able to get out of the world and just talk to the other, half across the world. So I encourage you to try to do all these things by involving more women, by giving them incentives, maybe extra credit or certificates, by telling them this is, you can be doing these things and you can be doing very well in these things. You can succeed because there are very few women in this field. So you can, do several different things. So I encourage you to do all these things. And I want to thank Deborah Johnson for telling me about the patch. Here's more information. You can talk to her again. And Carole Perry for this wonderful, thank you for inviting me. And Mr. Rapp as well. And my whole club for coming and supporting me and my parents. So thank you very much. And I hope you use these things. So thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And remember, when all else fails, there are more teenage boys than girls in ham radio. That was great, Maria. And just to validate something Maria said, years later, because when I taught it was over 30 years, as adults or as young adults, many times the kids would come back to the room just to say hello and let me know what careers they were in, etc. Like one who was working on the Hubble telescope and never would have known what radio astronomy was had it not been for the ham radio program. But when they come into the room, we used to have thousands of QSL cards. You couldn't see what color the walls were. I had a huge room in the school, and it was totally covered by cards. And when the kids came back, what they all had in common was, oh, I remember this room, I love this room. They're all trying to convey a feeling of comfortability and security and fun and adventure that they had in that room. And I picked up on that. There was an energy in that room that was just different. And the kids came back and were able to articulate that. So you make it be that kind of fun. That's an educational experience that there is no better one for. So that's all the hidden benefits of doing this and the inclusiveness of it in a classroom. It's fabulous. Okay, now here's someone I've known for many years. This is Sam Rose, KC2LRC. The second most frequently asked question